let's talk about the journey from research to publication. It can be a really tough road, right? Even the most amazing work can get stuck somewhere along the way. So today, we're going to break down how to actually navigate it.
So, does this sound familiar? You've put in the hours, you've got the data, the insights are all there, but your groundbreaking research, it's just sitting on your computer, kind of trapped in a draft that you just can't seem to get over the finish line. Believe me, it's a super common problem.
And it's really no wonder why. The challenges can feel like a giant wall. I mean, you're wrestling with all this complex data, you're fighting off writer's block, and then you have to figure out this maze of confusing journal guidelines. On top of all that, there's the pressure to make your argument absolutely crystal clear. And that little voice in your head, that fear of rejection, if you felt any of this, you are so not alone. But what if you had an expert guide to help you get through all that? That's what we're going to explore right now. So let's meet Dr. Sanjay Kumar. He's a medical professional and an academic writer who specializes in turning these exact hurdles into stepping stones. Okay, let's just start with one number, 20. That's 2 decades of experience. And not just as a writer, but right there in the trenches of clinical practice and research. He genuinely gets the work that goes into the paper before you even type a single word. And it doesn't stop there. He has over 80 indexed publications of his own. This is so important. He hasn't just told other people how to get published. He has a long, successful track record himself. He knows what it takes because he's done it time and time again. Now this is what gives him such a unique perspective. He's completed over 125 peer reviews for international journals. Think about that. He's been the gatekeeper. He knows exactly what editors and reviewers are looking for, and, just as importantly, what gets a manuscript tossed aside. You know, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? His entire philosophy is right here. It's not about just fixing commas and spelling. It's about building a solid foundation of clarity, making sure the science is accurate, and creating a logical story that communicates your findings in the most powerful way. So how does he actually pull this off? Well, you can think of it as a complete toolkit for your academic success, something that covers every single stage of the writing and publication game. If you look here, you can see his services are basically in 3 main buckets. First, you've got the core writing and creation, everything from manuscripts to technical documents. Then there's editing and refinement, which is so much more than just proofreading. It's about improving the logic and flow. And finally, there's support and strategy, the whole shebang, from getting your journal submission ready to helping with literature reviews. It's really a complete ecosystem of support. But he also has some really deep, specific expertise. And I want to point out one in particular, scientific storytelling. That's the art of taking complex data and turning it into a narrative that's clear and compelling. That skill, combined with his global experience and his fluency in all the major formatting styles, is what makes his approach so incredibly effective. So this brings us to what he calls the Kumar method. This isn't just about what he does, but how he does it. And it all boils down to a really structured, client-focused approach. This workflow really shows you how it works. See, it always starts with your goals and your message. From there, he becomes a partner, hunting for gaps in your logic, refining the structure, and making sure everything is polished and ready for the journals. It's a super clear, transparent path to getting your document publication ready. Okay, so why is this method so effective? Well, it really comes down to a few core principles that are all about integrity and quality. Okay, this slide is so important. On one side, you have his ethical, professional approach. It's all about strengthening your voice and making sure your work is original. On the other side, you have the shortcuts. You know, the AI rewriters that just spit out generic text that risk changing your actual meaning and that can even get you flagged for plagiarism. The point here is crucial. This is about protecting the integrity of your hard work.
Another key principle, dependable communication. Look, when you're trusting someone with your research, your baby, you absolutely need transparency. That means getting timely responses and having a clear plan, so you're never left in the dark wondering what's going on.
And holding it all together is just this incredible attention to detail. Every single document gets reviewed with a fine-tooth comb for structure, for clarity, and most importantly, for scientific accuracy. Nothing gets overlooked. All right, let's bring this all together. We've talked about the problems, we've met the guide, and we've walked through the method. At the end of the day, this is all about your path to publication. It's about turning your amazing ideas into real-world impact. So what's the bottom line? The hurdles to getting published are definitely real, but they're not insurmountable. When you partner with an expert who brings decades of experience, a whole toolkit of services, and a structured, ethical method, you really can turn all your hard work into a polished manuscript that's ready for the world to see. Which, of course, leads to the final and really the most important question of all. Once your work is finally out there, what kind of impact is it going to make?